Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Gabe Arnold. I'm the Technical Director for the DLC. I've got a couple of colleagues with me here today. We have Axel Pearson, who is a Technical Manager with the DLC. He'll be providing logistical support for the webinar. He's also one of the authors for one of the policies that we'll be talking about here today for field adjustable light distribution. In addition to that, I'm joined by Yao Young Wen, who is a technical support contractor for the DLC. He works for Energy Solutions, and he's been supporting us in developing both the DC and PoE lighting policy, as well as the field adjustable light distribution policy. So the purpose of the webinar today is to provide an overview of a new package of documents that the DLC has just released for stakeholder comment. This is part of our solid state lighting version 4.4 revision, and it includes a new policy for qualifying, a second draft policy for qualifying horticultural lighting, a second draft policy for qualifying DC and PoE lighting, a first draft proposal for qualifying products with field adjustable light distribution, and a revised proposal for qualifying products with field adjustable light output. Yesterday, there was a webinar where an overview was provided on the second draft of the horticultural lighting requirements. This webinar today will cover the second draft DC and PoE, the first draft field adjustable light distribution, and the revised field adjustable light output. So that's a mouthful. I'd like to start with some logistics and the agenda, and then we'll get into the technical presentation. All of the slides that you see here today, as well as a recorded version of the webinar, will be posted to the DLC website following the presentation. So you and any colleagues that you know that missed this will be able to access it after the webinar. We have a lot of people on the line here today, so all attendees will remain on mute through the duration here. We encourage you to ask us questions, and to do that, you use the GoToWebinar interface, the question pane, and Axel and Yao will be answering many of the questions that you submit as we go in written format. As time allows at the end, we will go over some of the questions that were received verbally. If your question is not answered, then we encourage you, actually either way, whether it's answered or not, we'd encourage you to submit these questions and issues as part of your written feedback that you submit for this package of documents. If you do experience any technical issues, please try and let us know right away. You can use the chat feature or also the question pane of the GoToWebinar interface. The agenda is, first we will start by providing an update on the development timeline for these policies and the process. We'll then provide an overview of each of the policies, starting with DC PoE, and then field adjustable light distribution, and then field adjustable light output. And then as time allows, we will have a verbal Q&A session. On the DLC website, if you click on current events, you can access the DLC Technical Workplan. This is a page on our website which is continually updated and provides a timeline and details of what the DLC is currently working on. So if you go to this page right now, you can see the version 4.4 policies and where we are right now in August 2018, where we have issued a second draft of the version 4.4 policies with a final, as it's shown on the screen right here, coming in September 2018. I didn't get a chance to update the slide deck, but if you go to the DLC website, you'll see that that final is now in October, but just barely. It's actually October 1st. So the next slide here provides some of the specific details around the timeline. So we issued this second draft document package on August 1st. Comments are due from all of you 2 weeks from yesterday on the 22nd. And then the final release will be on October 1st, and we expect to begin qualifying these products later in October. Something that's relatively new with the DLC that we'd like to remind you of is that we now require comments to be submitted using comment forms. You can access those on the website along with the document packages for each topic, and you can find those there. Finally, so these are, as you all know, probably very technically detailed policies with a lot of technical jargon, a lot of text where the words really matter. And that's not very conducive to presenting in a PowerPoint presentation. So I've taken some liberties here to summarize things and just hit on the key points. And I want to encourage you to refer to the documents for the specifics of what we are proposing, because in an attempt not to put you to sleep, I haven't included a lot of them here. So with that, I'll move into the first technical topic, and that is with DC and PoE lighting. This is the second draft of this proposal that we have issued. With the first draft, we provided an overview of the approach that we're taking to qualifying these products. And I'm not going to do that here in the interest of time, in the interest of being too repetitive. Rather, what I'm going to cover here with DC and PoE, since we've seen this before, is really just talking about some of the changes that we've made in draft 2, in some cases in response to some of the comments that we received with draft 1, from draft 1. So the first topic or issue I want to talk about here is with the requirements for testing of the products related to the testing voltages. With the first draft, the DLC had proposed that DC and PoE products needed to be tested, LM79 tested, at 3 different voltages: the mean, the minimum, and the maximum. We received a lot of comments back on the first draft about this. Couple of flavors of this. One being that the mean and minimum voltage was not really useful, and recommendations that we just require testing at the nominal voltage of the system. Comments that the DLC should require testing the same as we do with AC, without additional testing burden. With AC products, we require products to be tested only at the voltage that results in the worst case efficacy. So what we've done with this draft 2 proposal is we've backed off a little bit. We're still looking for your input on this, but the proposal right now is to require testing at 2 voltages. One being the same approaches we currently use with AC products, the voltage that results in the worst case efficacy. And then secondly, a nominal system voltage of the manufacturer's choosing, which would be different from the worst case voltage. So this is a fundamental part of DLC's approach to qualifying these products and how they must be tested. So really looking to your feedback on this second draft proposal. The second topic I'd like to discuss here is around how we're proposing to list these products on the QPL. DLC had proposed 2 new fields to be added to the QPL to differentiate DC products from AC products. And you can see those in the blue rectangle in the graphic on the right. A new field for system type, which would be applied to all products and identify products as either an AC product, a DC product, or a PoE product. Separate from that, there would be a new field added for DC efficacy, which would be a different field from the efficacy field we have traditionally used for AC products. So we'd be bifurcating that. So there'd be an efficacy DC field and efficacy AC field. We heard a lot of comments back to the first draft about this, that this DC efficacy field is really not needed. We're already differentiating by system type. Users of the QPL could filter the list by either AC products or DC products to understand the difference in performance. So we brought that feedback back to the utilities, and they asked us to continue to move forward with a separate DC efficacy field. It's important to them that the performance of these products is clearly differentiated on the QPL. And that comes from a couple of places. Many of them actually tie directly into our QPL through APIs, and that aligns with which products are eligible for which rebates. And they had some concerns, and it actually ties into some of the performance values on the QPL. And they had some concerns that if these were listed together and they both use the same efficacy field, it could cause some confusion with their customers, some problems within their system. So we are proposing to continue with these separate fields. The other concern they had, they're really concerned about these things not really being apples to apples comparisons, DC efficacy and AC efficacy, where with DC systems, the DLC is testing at the luminaire, and the DC and PoE systems bring these other potential losses into the system, not with all of them, but with some of them, with remote power supplies and line losses with some low voltage systems. And the utilities are going to need to account for those, but they're not going to be accounted for in the efficacy field on the QPL. So another reason they wanted to keep things separate. If you have any additional comments about this, then we welcome those and we will definitely consider them. Third topic, the DLC had proposed, and this is related, we had proposed to provide guidance to utilities in the form of a guidance document for how they should account for these other DC and PoE system efficiency losses that may occur in remote power supplies or switches and in some types of PoE or DC systems in the wiring with the line losses. We received a number of comments back in the first draft that DLC should not provide this guidance and incentives should be based on the information available on the QPL. We went back to the utilities with us and they affirmed for us that they have to account for these losses if they are going to support these products in their programs. They need to understand the total impact on the building load for all non-negligible losses with these products and systems, and ultimately on the electrical grid. And they are looking for the DLC to provide them some guidance on how to do that in terms of what information they need to look for and what calculations they would perform. So we are still moving forward to prepare that guidance document for them, and you can see a screenshot of it on the right. Next few issues here were not things that were not changes that we made in response to comments, but they're changes that we did make with the second draft as a result of some additional research we've done and conversations that we've had with utilities. So this first one is that we are proposing UL type A and B replacement lamps. So plug and play lamps that run off fluorescent ballasts or the lamps that run directly off of the AC mains would not be eligible to be qualified as DC and PoE products. Those are AC products, as is drawn on the screen, and they can continue to be eligible as AC type products. We're proposing that only type C products, which have a dedicated driver that is built to accept a DC mains voltage or a PoE connection, would be eligible to be qualified as DC and PoE. So we are interested in your feedback on that in terms of whether there's some unintended consequences with this exclusion, whether we're leaving any products out that we shouldn't be, and so forth. This next topic, we've added some language into the policy about how to test with accessories. This is a trend we're seeing a lot more of in industry. It's a really exciting trend. A lot more luminaires are now available with sensors embedded into them and accessories that actually go far beyond lighting, cameras, microphones, and things like that. And a lot of questions around how these products should be tested. And it gets really complicated quick. We've tried to propose something that's more simple. I know these things can still be very complicated, but what we proposed is that any removable accessories, such as sensors, should be removed during the LM79 testing if they're not required to achieve full light output. These products need to be tested at full light output. Any accessories with controllable power states that are not required to achieve full light output, things like cameras and microphones, external luminaire connections, should be disabled or powered down during the LM79 testing so that they are not included. So let us know what you think about this approach. The next two things are changes that we proposed regarding some of the fields, in particular for characterizing PoE systems. We are proposing with this draft a new field that would go with any PoE products that would identify the PoE type and class. And this refers to the power that the PoE is able to handle and the number of pairs of conductors. This information would be useful to identify PoE luminaires and systems that might be more compatible with one another. That would be the purpose of including it. And so on the screen there, you can see some of the options that we would list on the QPL. So let us know what you think about this. And then another new field, which we've called PoE connection, at least right now. We're interested in whether you have any thoughts on alternative field names for this. But what it is, it's a field that would identify whether a lamp luminaire or retrofit kit connected directly to the PoE network or connected indirectly, potentially through another luminaire. Or perhaps there could be products that connect to both. Okay? And then the final two things I want to bring up for the DCN PoE proposal. These are some key questions. Along with each of these proposals, we have provided a companion document around key questions where we're looking for input on. So these two here I haven't yet covered in any way. There were some comments that we received to the first draft that DLC should limit the products to should limit PoE products to just those that comply with 802.3. We haven't proposed that in this draft. There were comments that products should only be classified as PoE if they do comply with 802.3. So that's something we can consider and we're looking for your input on. And if that's the case, how would we show evidence of compliance? Would we require a standard certificate as evidence? Even if DLC does not require the products to be compliant with 802.3, we could identify the products that are. And if we were to do that, should we require a standard certificate? So let us know what you think about that. The next policy proposal is for products with field adjustable light distribution. This is a new policy that was not part of the initial 4.4 package, and we really accelerated our efforts to address it. It's something we're seeing a lot more of and we're really excited about. You can see a couple of products over on the right that are examples of this. The one on the upper right is a mogul screw base lamp product, which has these adjustable arms, which enable it to be used in a variety of applications. In the open position, it might work well, for example, in a traditional HID high bay fixture. In the closed position, it might work well in a HID post-top fixture, two different fixture types. The product on the lower right was actually the winner of the Most Innovative Product Award at this past Light Fair. It's a product where you can adjust the distribution, the beam spread, using an app on a phone. It actually is able to change this distribution by applying different voltages. I don't understand the full science behind it, but I don't think it's doing that using motors. It's very cool. These types of products provide a lot of benefits to the industry, economies of scale for the supply chain, provides a lot of benefits to customers and installers, where we have a product that's not just set it and forget it. We can actually make adjustments if for different types of spaces, if the needs for the space change, and so forth. So this is something that the DLC wants to try and get ahead of and allow and not get in the way of some of the really good innovation that's happening here. That's the reason we really accelerated our efforts with it and added it to this 4.4 package proposal. On this next slide, you can see a few other examples of these types of products. Historically, not all types of these field adjustable products were eligible to be qualified. Certain types of aimable products were. So the product on the upper left is a type of product that has sort of aimable light bars. And so this product would now fall under this new field adjustable light distribution policy. The one in the middle is a parking garage luminaire, which also has sort of like aimable light bars and enable it to be used in a variety of applications, a variety of different fixture placements. On the lower left is another trend we're seeing a lot of, which is products which have field rotatable lenses or optics, so you can change the distribution or the light pattern in the field. So I said I would try not to include too many words on the slide in technical detail. I'm going to break that rule a little bit for the next few slides here. So this slide lists the definition for the policy in terms of what products are eligible. So a field adjustable light distribution product is a lamp, luminaire, or retrofit kit where the light distribution can be altered from the default factory as-shipped configuration either at the time of installation or subsequently. The second part of this is important. A product whose light distribution is altered by the addition or removal of optional parts, such as reflectors or house-tied shields, are not considered field adjustable light distribution products. So if you've got if in order to change the distribution, you've got to install different parts, then that's not considered a field adjustable light distribution product. Those products would be considered more static products and qualified the way traditional products have been with DLC. What we're talking about here is just products that you can dynamically adjust the distribution in the field without the addition of additional parts. The framework for qualifying these products in terms of testing. These products must meet all DLC technical requirements for the category and primary use designation for which they are submitted at one of the product's adjustable distribution settings. So if you want to qualify a product, let's say for high bay, you only need to meet the technical requirements for high bay at one of the product's adjustable distribution settings, at one setting which is of your choosing. We provide some guidelines around it, but it is just one setting. We're not requiring it to meet it at every distribution setting because I think that would be too restrictive and it kind of defeats the purpose of these products and one of the key benefits that they can be used in a variety of different applications just by adjusting them. Interested in feedback on this. So I have a couple of examples here using one of the products I talked about initially. Let's say that this manufacturer wants to qualify this lamp type product for the pole mount decorative Type B mogul screw base primary use designation. It's like a product type. What the manufacturer needs to do is choose one adjustable position to test the product that's intended for the primary use designation they're qualifying it for and would meet the requirements of that category, of that primary use designation. So this is a pole mount decorative. The most likely position they're going to use for this particular product is probably going to be closed. That's going to most likely match the existing lamp type and configuration of the luminaire. And they're going to test it according to that, and they'll need to meet all the requirements of the PUD. If they want to qualify this product for another PUD, they would need to apply separately and may need a different adjustment in testing. So let's walk through that. So this product, if you open the wings, as I said, it could work very well for a traditional HID high bay luminaire. So that's where they want to qualify it as well. So what they're going to do is they're going to choose the adjustable position to test the product that's intended for that PUD or application, and is going to meet the requirements and test it accordingly. So that's the framework that we have proposed. There are a lot more details within the policy itself, so as I said earlier, please do read through it. A couple of other key questions we've identified we're looking for input on. We're pretty concerned here about some loopholes by only requiring the product to meet the requirements at one adjustable setting. So let us know if you can think of any that we should be very concerned about. We're wondering if there's types of distribution adjustments that should not be eligible for listing under the policy, and with all, why. Secondly, we proposed a new text field here, which would be displayed or available on the QPL for the adjustable distribution setting. And this would describe the setting at which the product was tested. We have some questions around how useful this field is, whether it will be sufficient to be informative, and so forth. It's not something that we can easily define a standard set of answers for, like the 45-degree adjustment position. There's just so much variability in how these products are actually adjusted. So let us know what you think about this. Okay, and then the next topic here is field adjustable light output. This is a revision of a policy we issued as part of 4.3 back in March of this year and suspended soon after. I think all of you, or most of you, probably received this email in April that we were suspending this new policy we had just issued. As we were starting to review the first of these products that were attempting to be qualified with us, that provided this field adjustable light output feature, very quickly realized we needed to go back to the drawing board and improve it. I want to talk a little bit about why. The prior policy had proposed that field adjustable light output is different from traditional dimming. And what makes it different is kind of who makes the adjustment and when that adjustment is made. So under field adjustable light output, we had defined it as being something that would be set before or during installation. So it could be via a dip switch, it could be maybe through programming of the driver, could be something that's done through a commissioning app, and it would be done by the manufacturer, the distributor, the installer, the commissioning agent, everything before the end user gets it. And this would be a feature that's mainly done to reduce product SKUs, sometimes as maybe as a high-end trim type feature. Whereas dimmable was something that was defined as being done post-installation dynamically, could be from a control system signal, could be by an occupant through a switch, could be by an occupant through an occupant-facing app, really done in response to end-user preferences and energy savings. And so this quickly became problematic, in part because DLC was proposing different testing and listing approaches between these two. Field adjustable output was proposed to be tested and listed at the default light output, whereas dimmable was proposed to be tested and listed at the maximum light output. So you needed to know which side of this you were on in order to determine how to test your product, and the DLC needed to know which side you were on in order to determine whether to accept your test results. And so this is where things got really problematic. There's a lot of innovation happening in how these products are being controlled now, which is a great thing. And the lines are really being blurred between these two sides. This fundamental problem of having different testing and listing requirements, that was really the major issue here. And so what we did is we went back to the drawing board to try and align the testing and listing approaches between field adjustable, between dimmable products, to give more room for flexibility and innovation and simplify things for applicants. And that's what we've proposed here as a revised approach. So hopefully we've delivered on that. I'll give an overview of it here, and we'll walk through a couple of examples. So we are keeping with the definitions of field adjustable output and dimmable. But they're only used for the purposes of manufacturers selecting how they want their product to be listed, as field adjustable or for dimmable. It does not determine different testing or listing approaches. What's actually done now is field adjustable is rather than sort of being this completely separate thing from dimming, it's a type of dimming in the same way continuous and step dimming is a type of dimming. This is now a self-reported feature. We'll be looking for alignment in your spec sheets to show that you offer this feature, but it's really something that you're self-reporting in terms of how you want your product to be listed. As I said, in the same way you're selecting right now whether you want your product to be listed as continuous, providing continuous dimming, or stepped. All dimmable products, whether they provide continuous dimming, step dimming, field adjustable output dimming, or a combination of these things, will be tested and listed in the same way at the maximum output, all dimmable products. One of the changes here with this revised proposal, though, is that these field adjustable light output products are now going to be listed at their maximum wattage and light output. In some sense, that's sort of a worst case, at least in terms of wattage. There was a concern as we were developing this initial policy from manufacturers and other stakeholders that their default configuration for these field adjustable products is not at their max output. It's some setting that's lower. And so there was a desire to list them at the default setting. And we're no longer proposing that, but all of the standard fields on the QPL would be listed the performance at the max output. So there will be 2 additional fields where manufacturers can self-report the default wattage and default light output if it is different from the maximum, to try and address that initial concern. So I want to walk through a couple of examples. So let's say we have a manufacturer. It's a dimmable product. It provides continuous dimming. So that is adjusted post-installation dynamically on a scheduled basis. It's by the occupant or control system signal. It also provides field adjustable light output. So this is a setting that can be changed before or during installation by the manufacturer, distributor, installer, or commissioning agent. During the application process, they're going to be asked to tell us which of these capabilities their product has. And so they would choose, it provides continuous dimming. We ask, does it go down to 10% or below? They would choose it goes below. It does not provide stepped, but it does provide this field adjustable light output. So they would choose those 3 options I have checked in green. This next slide here shows how it would be displayed. So this is a product tile on our QPL. Under dimming status, it would indicate whether the product has continuous below 10, continuous above 10, stepped, or is not dimmable in that way. So this one would display continuous below 10, and it would display separately below that it has field adjustable light output, both things. Okay? Now let's look at a slightly different example. We got some questions about this one already, so I'm trying to address it here. So we have a manufacturer, they have a dimmable product, but it doesn't actually provide continuous or step dimming for occupants or for a control system signal, but it does provide field adjustable light output. Maybe it's got a programmable driver, maybe it's got a dip switch, where you can adjust the light output at the time of installation or at the distributor before it's sent to the job site, but it doesn't actually provide 0 to 10 volt input terminals or other methods of occupant-facing dimming. So what the manufacturer is going to do here is they're just going to select the field adjustable light output product option. And so how this would be displayed is that under dimming status, it would show not dimmable, but it would show that it has the field adjustable light output. So I guess what I'm trying to address here is that we're not saying that, I say that field adjustable is now designated as a type of dimming, but we're not saying that field adjustable products have to provide a dimming interface for occupants. Okay? Lastly, I wanted to show how the search tile would look for these products. And you can see the field adjustable is shown in a separate area. We have the light output here. We will be adding one for field adjustable light distribution. That'll be a separate search area. And then we've got the separate dimming criteria search area on the lower left. Okay, so for next steps, I've already gone over things, but just a reminder that comments are due pretty quickly on these. It's 2 weeks from yesterday. We'll be releasing the final versions of these October 1st and aim to begin qualifying later in October. We'll publish a date around when we'll begin qualifying as we get a little bit further along. So with that, it looks like we've got time for some Q&A. Axel, or yeah, have we identified any that you would like me to cover specifically, or should I walk through the ones we've done?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
hi, this is Axel. So we do have one related to field adjustable light distribution, I believe. So the question is, products that are adjustable, like the lamp that could be used for a high bay or a post top, that's the kind of flower-shaped product we were showing. The asker says the sphere testing would not really change between the two settings. So would the product only need to supply an IES file for the second distribution? Does that make sense?
Sorry,
or we can ask the commenter to enter a question again, and we'll reread it with a clarification.
Yeah, I'm not seeing the question in there. Sorry.
Came in at 129. If you can see it by time.
I see, from Jesse. You know, I may not want to attempt to answer that because I'm afraid I may give the wrong answer. Give me 1 second here. Looks like we don't have Dave Ryan. Jesse, we will get back to you with an answer on that question.
Sorry, I'm reading through some of the ones that came in just now too, so bear with us.
So I have a question I'll answer here, which is, will the wattage consumed by sensors or other accessories not be reflected in the wattage on the QPL? That is what's proposed in this current policy for DC and PoE products. So you are going to, if those accessories are not required to achieve full light output, then they should be powered down or removed for the LM79 testing, and that's correct, they would not be reflected in the wattage on the QPL. Any others, Axel, that you see?
There's a question about, I think the question is if field adjustable can include color tunability, and Gabe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is an acceptable option, that a product can be both field adjustable and color tunable.
Yes, that's correct. And if it is, it's subject to the requirements of both policies.
So there's a question about field adjustable products and how they are labeled on the luminaire. So I imagine this is field adjustable light output. What would be the rated wattage for measurement and verification purposes that would be printed on the luminaire?
That's not something that DLC provides guidelines or requirements for. I know that can be important related to codes. I know this issue of what wattage the product is actually using is important to the utilities for their measurement and verification purposes. In some cases, for the incentives or rebates the product is actually eligible for. I don't have a great answer for that issue. I think it's something that the utilities are going to need to work on how to address. It's something that we recently brought up with them at our stakeholder meeting, and that we're moving to a new place in the industry with some new trends where these products are, lighting products are no longer static as they once were, and their performance can change significantly in the field from what might be listed on their spec sheet or might be listed on the QPL. So no solutions there. Looks like Bob asked that, but we've started the conversation with the utilities around it, and we hope to come up with some ways to address it in the future. So there's a question here, Axel. If the maximum power and output setting is the default or as shipped condition, is there a mechanism to show the lower output or power settings? There is not right now as proposed on the QPL. The QPL would display just the maximum and the default if it was different from the maximum. We are not proposing to add any additional fields for the situation that's asked about here.
So there's a question about field adjustable horticultural lighting. So the question is, what about the interface of the QPL requirements for a field adjustable horticultural lighting unit? So maybe one question is, can a horticultural lighting product be field adjustable? And how would that be shown on the QPL?
That's a good question, and I think I'd want to chat with Damon Bassetti on our team, who's leading the horticultural efforts. Please, we'll flag that question here, and please include it in your comments.
How are DC products different from current AC powered LED fixtures? The LED modules receive DC from the drivers anyway, it seems.
Yeah, I think I'd like to refer to the definitional language and the DC and PoE policy, which I don't have right in front of me, but sort of at a high level, what we're talking about here are products which where the input to the driver would be a DC or PoE voltage, not the output of the driver. So refer to the policy, check out the definition we have there, and if it's not clear about this situation that's being asked, let us know that.
Okay, Gabe, there are a few more questions, and I feel like they may be best answered offline, and we will definitely take note of these questions and follow up, unless, of course, you're reading some that you would like to address.
I think that probably makes sense, Axel. So we have the contact information of all of you that have submitted questions, and we will respond to you offline with some answers. We would like to encourage you to submit these as well as part of your comments. And we'd just like to thank you all for your time here today and all of your input. It's really important to us in terms of developing policies that work for everyone out there. So thanks again for your time, and look forward to your comments and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.